We are back with another episode. We've got a new setup. We're upgrading. It's 2025. We're making sure that we look amazing. If you are listening to this, check us out, on the video podcast, whether that's on Spotify or on YouTube. You can see we're upgrading the look. We went from webcam to 4K FX3. We're going bougie when it comes to recording this. I think you got to look good to play good. Hopefully the content can also match the quality of this image. I'm excited to chat about what is hesitations to buy and how my team uses this concept in our ad creative. So hesitations, what are they? They are hurdles that customers have to jump over to get to buying your product. Ads should speak to these hesitations and make it faster for consumers to jump over these hurdles. A lot of times, the reasons to buy help you or help the consumer jump over those hurdles, and they really speak to those hesitations. But having a true understanding of what your consumer is thinking at the time of seeing these ads and in terms of hesitations can be really powerful, right? So a lot of times we think about things from a power of, or from a stance of power, like, oh, we're so great, this is why you should buy. And even though, again, it's speaking to those hesitations, if we can really be in the shoes of the consumer and say, what's it like for them to view our brand, to view our product, to view this buying journey? If we can jump into their shoes, we can actually speak to them and have more empathy in the ways we're communicating with them, which then would create a lot stronger of ad creative. So it's important that your ads speak to all of these hesitations all the time. So when you are thinking about listing out what are all the hesitations, that can be really helpful because it's almost like a checklist when you are creating your ads to make sure, hey, are we speaking to these hesitations? Because these are pretty common. So I want to kind of give you a few hesitation examples and then ad example to speak to those hesitations. So a few hesitations could be price. It could be skeptical of results. It could be unsure of credibility. So an example that would kind of speak to price, if people were like, I don't know if I want to pay this dollar amount, it seems kind of expensive, you might try to show value to be more than price. And that's something that I like to talk a lot about, which is value to price ratio needs to be higher. So the value that a consumer gets needs to be higher than the price. So one way you can do it is by saying, maybe you can price it per day versus month. So if it's a monthly subscription and it's like $80 a month, or let's say $90 a month, because I don't do public math, $90 a month. But instead of saying, hey, this subscription for $90 a month, you could say as low as $3 a day. And that can really change how people view price, the value and the price. So if we know that price is a hesitation for them, then we want to make sure we speak to it. Maybe the price is just really high, right? It's a really high-end piece of jewelry. Okay, well then what do we need to say to make that price feel like, wow, that's great quality. I'm getting a lot for that price. So maybe it's the quality of metals or sourcing of gems or that it's handcrafted, whatever, the product is. But speaking from the price sensitivity can be really helpful for you. Now let's talk about like skeptical of results. Let's say you are a brand that does you're a health brand and people are like, I don't know, like, does that really work? Well, if you have a clinical study or, somebody's done clinical studies about ingredients or your product specifically, then that allows you to really, speak to the hesitation. Oh, you're skeptical? Here's some research. Boom. Numbers don't lie, right? Well, numbers can lie, but you get my point. You can use clinical results as a way to speak to the skepticism of results. Or maybe you can show a lot of customer results. Oh, you don't know if it's going to work for you. Well, here are all the different people that it's worked for. Again, you can see that when you think about what makes a great ad, you're like, yeah, how you offer your price, that makes sense. Or if you're like, yeah, social proof, that's really important. Of course, that's important. And you would have that in a good ad. But if you can actually understand the skepticism, if you can actually understand the hesitations to buy, you start to create and write in ways in which to really speak directly to those hesitations, and you try to find proof points that speak directly to those hesitations, which is can be sometimes different than reasons to buy, or can help you understand your true reasons to buy. The last example is unsure of credibility. That can then to speak to that hesitation, you'll have experts on ads talking about the product and its results, right? So if you can start to understand what are the hurdles that this consumer needs to jump over to feel really confident in buying my product, then you can start to create ads that really speak to those hesitations, and that can open up new ways in which to talk about it, or getting people, creators, customers to also add in social proof or talk about it in ways that can really speak directly to your consumer or potential customer. So how do we find these hesitations? This sounds like this is a gold mine. In my opinion, it's a gold mine to find these hesitations. Because again, if you can really be in the shoes of the consumer, now you can really speak to them in a way that is empathetic and really, I think, goes deeper for them. The way you can start is just talk to your customers. What almost held them back from buying? You can also reach out to customers that didn't buy. Maybe they're abandoned carts. Maybe you have their email, but they haven't bought yet. Just ask them, hey, we want to know, you've signed up for things, but you've never bought. Why is that the case? There will be plenty of answers that actual customers will tell you, or potential customers that never bought from you will tell you. And that's really great. Another awesome way to get this information is looking at reviews. One thing that I find in reviews is that a lot of them will sometimes talk about their hesitation to buy, and then why they're very grateful that they ended up buying it. And sometimes they'll say like, oh, I wish I had seen it sooner. Like an example of that could be like, I just made this review up, but this is an example. Like, I wasn't sure it would be worth this monthly payment, but now I'm kicking myself for not getting this sooner. This product has changed my life and my skincare routine is better than ever. What's the hesitation in there? The monthly payment. Okay, now if that was the kicker, but now they've used the product and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I had done this sooner. That was the hesitation that held them back. Obviously, they're customers, so now that monthly payment doesn't matter to them. They'll pay that. They'll pay double because they're so excited about the product. But now there's probably plenty of other people out there that look at that same monthly payment and say, it's too much, but they haven't tried your product yet. They haven't been able to experience the product the way that this customer has. And now the customer regrets that they hadn't done it sooner. And there's probably going to be plenty of other customers out there. So what you want to then do is take these reviews, and there's going to be probably plenty of other ones that might say like, oh, like I've tried so many different other skincare brands and it's never really worked. So I was hesitant, but wow, this is really different. Here's why, Okay, there's plenty of those. Take those, and now those are your hesitations to buy. Now you have ad concepts that you can speak directly to those hesitations. The last thing is, don't be biased. What I mean by that is a lot of times we want to assume that our product is so great, and it is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. Your brand is amazing. It's so awesome. But you have to remember, when you are so in the weeds of what you're doing, like you know your brand so well, you know your product so well, you probably started the brand because you had some sort of problem or thing that you were searching for in your life, or maybe you started working for the brand because you felt like, yeah, this is something I believe in, whatever, right? Like, and as you're working in it, you get really like, you understand the industry, you're looking at competitors, you're doing all this stuff. Most common people are not as in depth don't have not done all their research. Their awareness level is so low. And you and your bias can actually create blinders of where actual consumers might actually be feeling, or how they might be feeling or approaching your brand or your product. So it's really important to find ways to get out of your own bias. Personally, for me, that's why I like to have friends outside of marketing, because I know that they probably haven't heard of brands. They actually know that I'm somebody that always has a new brand that I'm talking about or things I've been finding, which is great because I can go to them and say, hey, what do you think about X? Or have you heard about this brand? And then I can kind of pitch them on it. I can see what their hesitations are. I can see what the questions are. So what I would do is try to talk to people outside of this space, marketing, D2C, all that stuff, and just get a feel. And that kind of goes back to, talking to your customers and things like that. But you really just want to get out of your own bias as much as you can. Look at this level-headedly, look at and try to like figure out where are other people coming from, be empathetic towards them. All right. So hesitations to buy can really be an amazing way to have great talking points in an ad. And they can also kind of create great ideas for full video concepts. So what I mean by that is you can have, like, let's take the skincare example. And the hesitation was, I've already tried so many skincare products, yada, yada, yada. And finally I got this one to work, but like that was the hesitation. Another skincare product. Oh my gosh, do I need another one? And that might be a talking point in an ad, right? It could be somebody saying, I've tried these different brands. They never seem to work, but I finally got this because this is what makes this product different, et cetera, et cetera. Cool. So it's a talking point, but it could also be a video idea, right? And the idea could be somebody is drowning in so many products and they're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't believe this. And they like throw all the products away and you've got one product and this one is actually the one that's won, right? So like you can start to think about how hesitations don't have to just be this like talking point. It could be the visuals that come out of this. It could be the leading visuals or the leading angle or concept that can come from it. I think the biggest takeaway that I want you to get from this episode is start to be skeptical of your own brand. Start to be skeptical of your own product. When consumers are seeing your ad for the first time, they are hyper skeptical, right? They're like, who are you? You're new. You've entered their orbit. And remember, this is cold traffic. A lot of the times they might have heard about you, but most of the time not, right? And so they're meeting you for the very first time, which is very different than your relationship to the product or brand. You want to jump into their shoes, be skeptical. And if you can be skeptical, you can start to write down a list of things of, yeah, I would be wary of this, this, and this, and whatever those hesitations to buy. And then, of course, you do the research. You talk to customers. You look at reviews. You do all the things I've already told you. All of a sudden, you have a long list of reasons why somebody might not buy from you. And that then allows you to have a more powerful, proactive stance and saying, I'm going to make ads that speak to that. And when an ad doesn't work, what you should do is you should look at and say, well, I wonder if this is not working because I didn't actually speak to this hesitation. Or, if this ad's not working, is it because it hadn't spoken on the clinical studies yet? Or, it had all these really great reasons to buy, but there was no social proof or whatever the hesitations are. This kind of gives you a little bit, this list of hesitations to buy gives you almost a lens in which you can critique your ads as well as come up with new ads. And it's really powerful to use this. I, again, think that it's always great to be positive and talk about what makes your product different and the, reasons why it's different and why you're unique. But you also have to understand where the consumer is and making sure that you are speaking and weaving those reasons to buy through kind of a lens of, I need to speak to those hesitations. That's what I've got for today. I have a lot more content coming. We've got weekly podcasts. We've got YouTube content. We've got social media content. We're upgrading the look and feel here. I mean, come on. Life is good over here at Good O Studios. If you have any other questions about this, I'd love to get your feedback. I'd want to know what you're thinking, how you think about hesitations to buy, and yeah, how your team is coming up with creative. And maybe this was really helpful. If you want to hear or have questions, you have ideas for new episodes, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the places. I'd love for you to just help me help you. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening, all that fun stuff. We're looking good here in 2025. I'm excited for the new year. More to come. Thanks so much. All right. Peace.